How we doing? Welcome to my podcast. I'm doing me. Let's talk about it. Which I got from actually a disciplinary act I use for my son when he gets out of control. I get him regulated first because once he's in that mode, you can't really tell him nothing. So after, I'll pull him out of the environment wherever he's throwing a tantrum and I bring him upstairs and we call it Let's Talk About It. And we'll start with like a favorite color, something good he did today in school, or something that brought joy and gratitude to him. And then once I kind of get him regulated and calmed down, then I'll circle around and kind of confront whatever he did. But that's how that Let's Talk About It thing started. And if you hear my 4-year-old, sometimes when I get out of control and me and mom will be arguing, he'll be like, let's talk about it. So that was the idea. However, this is episode 2. My wife gracefully asked me, because she was reading my flyer that I made, and she was like, relationship, like, and she was like, how about we do something around amongst marriage? And I was like, yo, I don't know if this is a good idea. But she encouraged the idea, and I love the fact that she actively volunteered to get involved. So we're taking a leap of faith right now, and, we're gonna pray to Christ real quick that I don't end up out in the streets after this. But I'm actually really excited that she voluntarily wanted to insert herself into this and be involved, because that just shows her her level of support. So that's always positive. So this is Anna, my wife.
So take notes, people.
So Anna, so I put together just a couple questions to kind of keep direction for and ideally, hopefully, that we can inspire or help any other, married couples, younger or middle aged like ourselves. We getting old, but we still look young, right?
I know. Happy 40th.
Yeah, I'll be 40 in just a few days. So praise God, I made it. So almost. So, how did we meet? And what's our background, etc.? You remember how you met me?
Yeah,
I think our interpretations are a little different too. We were in different places in our life, but good.
Yeah. So, I vaguely remember meeting him when we were young kids. I was probably in like my early 20s, maybe 20, 21. And he's a couple years younger than me, about 4.5. And we have a mutual friend. So our mutual friend,
our family,
they're family. He grew up and was best friends with. Do we want to say names or keep it?
Yeah, Reggie.
Okay,
Reggie.
And his sister was my best friend, Kiana. So we already had a relationship going there. Mutual.
We periodically see each other coming back and forth within that family's household. I let Reggie, John, and Josh, the siblings, the guys in the house, know. I think we were all maybe in love with you at one point. They probably got to know you a little better, so they probably knew better. But I fell hard, and I would periodically try to speak to her. Being a little younger, it was intimidating. But it's funny because we grew up in the same community, so I knew her, and I would see her periodically, just being around. And one of her first boyfriends, who's no longer with us, was a great man, and he was like a mentor to me. God bless his soul, Chris and Adeline. But it's funny how Christ works, because I remember being at Chris Carey's house, who was another childhood friend of all of ours, and Chris was there, and these two must have been in some type of argument. Yeah. And Chris was venting about him, her boyfriend, and he was a good friend of mine. And I interrupted. I was younger, so I didn't pose no threat or anything. I said, "Yo, excuse me, don't speak about her like that, because that's gonna be my wife someday." And we all started laughing, and like, little behold, I don't know, 20 years later, that really came true.
Happened.
Yeah. So praise God. But we just grew up in the same community. We started dating.
We lost communication throughout the years, but it was probably like 10 years.
Yeah, we didn't speak.
See each other, Facebook. And then Facebook is what reconnected us. He was going through some personal things in life, and I seen it on Facebook because, as my husband does, he's very
broadcasting my life, like
he's very passionate about things, and he broadcasts a lot of stuff. But he's working on that. He's changing little by little. But he had been posting some stuff, and I was like, what is going on with this boy?
Yeah.
What's going on with this man? So I reached out, concerned, and trying to be a friend, and that's how we linked up.
both going through separations and
similar,
had
very
sons,
similar.
very similar in age, who would end up becoming brothers and best friends through their, the majority of their childhood. Now that they're teenagers, they've kind of gone separate ways, but that's just kind of what happens with brothers anyhow. But
yeah, we kind of
that's really, what held us together through some tough times too. Our kids were so close that it was, we used to say if we could get along as good as they did, we'd be fine. But yeah, that's kind of what inspired us to start. I remember being like, wow, there's like good Samaritans out there. Like, why do you want to come see me? I'm completely unstable, as I've let the whole world know. My 3.5-year-old son had just got taken out of my house, which shattered me at the time. And if I'm being honest, back then I was running to the bars and the alcohol and just trying to numb myself. So I would throw these crazy Facebook messages up, and God don't make mistakes. Somehow Anna stumbled across him, kind of going through something pretty similar, much more private, reserved, and mature, than I was. And, now that she tells the story, like, I know my wife, right? So to say that there was no type of attraction, I don't believe her, because I know my wife. She's not driving an hour away to go talk to some guy. Well, I don't know. Because you were going through something similar, you know what I mean? So... Yeah, but anyways, I fell in love with her from love at first sight. Like, I hadn't seen her in 10 years. I hadn't really thought about her. But, her beauty and her attraction had, I don't think never left any of us. Like, that anybody that knew her, everybody knew she was a really attractive woman. So when she walked into my kitchen, I immediately fell in love. Like, it was love at first sight. For me, like I said, not so much for her, but I never gave up. And so, it didn't happen. But,
yeah.
So, the next question is why did we want to get married?
So we were pregnant. I was pregnant. And we had been trying to conceive Adrian for a good year. We discussed it with the boys. We didn't want to have another child out of wedlock. We cared for each other. We loved each other. We both enjoyed adventures with each other, doing new things with each other, just having fun with each other.
Right.
So we decided to have Adrian and make sure that we were married. Like I said, we didn't want him out of wedlock. Is that?
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, I proposed to you, before that, though, before Adrian. So ideally, we wanted to get married. I proposed in, I think, June 10th, 2018 or 19. I think it was 18, because I think we were engaged for almost 2 years before we got married that following summer of 2020 during the epidemics. So which that made things challenging. So we had a small wedding. We didn't have to give too many invitations, but which was beautiful. It was perfect for me. But some people were like, "Oh, I never got invited." This and that. No, there was actual law back then. You couldn't have more than 10 people in public together. So and we got married outside on a beach. So but my interpretation of it was, when we first got together, we came from real domesticated relationships with children. So we could share that with each other once we got there, right? Once we worked through sharing our children. But then we co-parenting now. So 1 week we were home family, and it made it feel pretty familiar than I think what we were both accustomed to, so we could relate and grow through that. But then the next weekend, the other parents had the kids, and we were like rock stars, and I had a really good time with my wife. She was the first girlfriend I had where I didn't need my friends anymore. I was going out with Anna, and me and Anna were just having a ball no matter where we went and what we did. We were both pretty productive members of society back then. We had good jobs and a little bit of money, and now this new freedom, because we had kids young, so while everybody else was living, we were stuck home 7 days a week, and now periodically every other weekend we're free to do whatever we want, you know what I mean, like young people again, and we took advantage of that. Long story short, we ended up through some difficult times, but we both found recovery. And when we got engaged, we necessarily weren't there yet, but when we were getting married, I saw the values in our lives, how we could, manage a household together, pay bills together, do finances, raise children, have fun. We started really accomplishing goals. we went through some real tough times, and then all of a sudden we both got promoted at our jobs. We got good careers. We were saving money together. So it just looked really good on paper, and we wanted. And she came to me in confidence that she wanted another child. Now, ideally, I wanted a girl for the household because everything we did was boys. It was just me, RJ, Leo, and like Anna grew up in a household full of women, so it was completely foreign to what she was used to. And, I was like a diehard gym hero, so having two boys around was like a dream come true to me, but I mean, it wasn't always fair to her. But we got, God don't make mistakes, and we got another healthy little boy. But, that child of our own kind of, put the glue together. And, as she said, we didn't want to have another child out of wedlock. We had found God. We started attending church. Our vows to Christ, were very meaningful to us. And we wanted to bring a child into the world, in our opinion, the right way. No judgment to anyone who does it any different.
Right.
But that was important to us. So those are pretty much our core beliefs and values anyhow. That was the next question. What are your core beliefs and values in your own marriage? I'll answer real quick. So mine is just to, honor my vows in Christ. My pastor had taught me that, Jesus died for the bride, and he had to explain to me what that meant. He was pretty much like, so, we live in Haverhill, which has a reputation of its own, that carries through with a lot of darkness in the community, right? So people who go to church, they'll repent, and for, whatever sins they're committing, right? And from A to Z. And providing that they're really honest about their repenting, the Lord will forgive you with a love and understanding that we as humans, we don't have the capacity or comprehensive the ability to understand that type of love. And I went, and that's how you're supposed to love your wife. That was the interpretation I got. And I remember looking at my pastor going, wow, I thought she was the one with the problem. And because I didn't know how to be that selfless. So those were my core beliefs and values, and try to honor what my wife wanted in life. Like, for an example, we were going to buy a house in New Hampshire. We both had a lot of money saved. My family stepped in. They offered us this great deal. And my wife, being Caribbean from Puerto Rico, she was like, I don't want to live in New Hampshire. I don't want to live outside my own Hispanic culture in a community that doesn't have diversity and raise my children there. And I'm looking at it like, yo, bro, I want the equity. I want money. I want to, get ahead. But I had to recognize that I married her. She agreed to marry me. So now I have to lead for what she believes in as well as what me. And I'm supposed to lead her. You know what I mean? So I had to take a step back. And it was the greatest thing I ever did, because I say a happy spouse, a happy house, not a happy wife, happy life. But I for the first time in myself, I wasn't selfish. I didn't do what I thought was best for me and my idea of who she was. I let her tell me what she wanted, and I responded appropriately, and I listened to her, and that was something I was always doing whenever I wanted it, and that's not marriage. So, but that's what I got.
Okay.
Next question.
Yeah.
What difficulties have you found with your spouse in your marriage? Let her take over.
Difficulties. We all have adversities. We all have strengths and weaknesses. So difficulties. My husband tends to
let it out. Don't hold back. People need to hear it. There's other people going through it.
My husband, ladies and gents, I can ask him to do something, and it's, wait a minute. That wait a minute, that's a long minute, y'all. A long minute. Maybe 3 business days, 5 business days, I don't know. It gets lost. I'll ask him to do something. It's like, forgets all about it. So keeping him on task is difficult. It's difficult, organizing, picking up after himself, forgetting to do things. I write things down because he asked for them to be written down. I didn't see it. Little. They're big things, but to him they're little. But to me they're big because I need you present. I need you here. And if you're not listening, I don't feel like you're here. You're here, And I get very frustrated to put it nicely. Well, really angry. I get angry.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, I'll ask once, I'll ask twice, I'll ask three, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the type of person you got to tell me maybe 2 times, as my son does, 2. And I'm good. Over here, I'm like 10. I'm like, ah! So the follow through, the initiative, with things that he likes to do, he's all about it, right on it. You got to ask him. He's already out the door,
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being fair, she's right. The way Anna can multitask and run a household, as far as with keeping up after chores, being organized, constructive, and proactive amongst like running a household with cooking, cleaning, making sure tasks are done, things are met punctually. You know what I mean? Like where like I don't even open my mail. She's right. It's almost like childlike. It's just that we're just different in those ways, and I should do a better job of meeting her needs rather than just looking at it from my perspective.
Well, they're your needs too. They're your stuff, so you got to be responsible for these things.
Yeah.
They're not my only needs.
Yeah. If I'm being fair and honest, she's right. Me, I don't understand how someone can be mad at one thing and can sit in that. You know what I mean? For me, I like once I'm over it, it's gone. Like she'll say, you just sweep it under the rug, and I'll use no. It's like sitting in crap. It smells. I don't want to stay in it. Like I brush it off. I move forward. I'm not an analytical guy. I'm a bigger picture type of guy, and I put my family first and foremost, and I'm very forgiving and easygoing. So some things that she has a harder time of letting go of because she doesn't feel they were dressed properly, I'm already past it and moving forward. And in my heart, I mean, I feel like I'm right, but I guess I'm not being as considerate from her perception, from what she's looking at. With me, I struggle with the idea of provision, like I've had some financial instability issues in the last couple of years of my life due to poor choices and some medical stuff. But I mean, beforehand, I was a Class A CDL driver. I was very responsible. I did the majority of our finances as far as planning ahead. I come from a long line of family of like, mathematics and with financial advisors, CFOs, and people that are just really naturally good at prioritizing money and seeing things coming and going and how to invest properly and how to save. So when I did become a little bit financially successful, it was easier for me to see the bigger picture and things, and we did really well. And my wife has been very understanding with my condition somehow because, as a man, we're supposed to provide financially. But I feel like provision goes much further because, I had a stroke in March, which, she was very supportive, as far as helping me get back to health. But I have a setback, but I provide in other ways. And men, I feel like sometimes we're discredited. Like when I'm home every day, I keep you safe. I help out. Sometimes, like she said, I could do a lot better job, but I'm with our children. Our child comes home to a loving father every single day. I pick him up from school. I help out amongst the tasks. If she's got to go somewhere, she has the liberty to know that there's a man home and present where she can leave and do what she's got to do, and her children are taken care of. And she never has to do anything alone. And I think she really deep down, appreciates it. It's just like we're accustomed to having more. So like if you're struggling in any type of way, whether it's financially, emotionally, it's just never easy. So sometimes things can come out and cause conflict that can trigger our anger and it can spiral, right? So a little argument can turn into a huge blowout, and the frustration's really not with really one another. It's more of our situation. And as men, sometimes we're the leaders, so we get the brunt end of it. And like, I'm still like a kid at heart. I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want to get screamed at. I already know what I'm struggling with. I don't want to get told about it 100 times. But I mean, it is what it is. But it is important to address these things and be open and honest about it if we're going to do a podcast, because naturally there's other folks that are probably can relate and identify. So
well, yeah, I mean, and to be honest, in marriage, the number one, I would say personally, the number one thing that a lot of couples argue about is finances. Finances, responsibilities, stepping in and helping out. So it does, to be very transparent and honest, it does, cause a lot of turmoil in the household.
Well, and the other thing with us, I can only speak for us, right? We're both in active recovery, right? So the isms can hide behind in our marriage. So like the symptoms of an addiction or an alcoholism, it's sober or not, it's restless, irritable, discontent. Just like if your ankle is swollen, I mean, you get a sprained ankle, your ankle's gonna swell, it's gonna cause pain. Those are the symptoms, So if you see a swollen ankle, oh man, I sprained my ankle. If you have one of these things, that's just an example. Like what do they call it? I can't think of the name, but anyhow, back to what I was saying. An analogy, right? And if you're symptomatic, right, and you're restless, you're irritable and discontent. I mean, a spouse can contribute to that anyhow.
Oh, we're the biggest ones.
So you can be restless, irritable, and discontent due to being symptomatic to your disease, and it's really easy to be deceptive and be like, no, it's all her. She's driving me she's driving me nuts. She's driving me crazy, or vice versa, and not recognize the root cause of the problem of why, instead of a little complicated, conflict, instead of being here, we're all the way up here now, and we're not regulated, and we're not in the right space to really kind of address these certain things. So that is something that we have, we have to get better at understanding, recognizing, working through.
And it's very easy. To take it out on your spouse, because that's the closest person to you.
Without even understanding it.
Yeah, you'll be quick
not recognizing it.
You'll be quick to lash out at them, and because they're the person there. In the exterior world, you'll be fine, peaches and cream. Ooh, I'm the best person, And you have to be cautious and mindful of that, because that person is your person, and you can hurt that person in multiple ways. So trying to keep yourself composed is important. To think before you speak, because your tongue is your strongest muscle in your mouth.
It's hurtful, yes.
And it's very hurtful. You can't take back things that you say. So be cautious. Step away. Take a walk. And let me tell you, I'm not good at that at all.
Yeah, I walk with a spirit of forgiveness. Which kind of transitions into this next piece. What advice would you give newlywed couples that are considering marriage, or an early marriage, or even long term? Not to tell anybody what to do, but myself, going forward, we seek counsel, and let me explain the benefits. Kind of mind if I speak about me and Anna both come from single parent homes, right? So she was raised by her mother primarily, and so was I. I never lived in a house other than my mom's house. She had I had a stepdad very briefly, but the majority of my upbringing, the first 18 years of my life was just with a mother. So it's like, when I was getting married, ideally, I thought I knew what a husband was. I thought I knew I was just going to live life and go through it like anything else. But really, neither one of us had any business or understanding of what a marriage was supposed to look like.
Yeah, we didn't come from a household of mom and dad, united front, cooking, going to work, coming home, cooking, cleaning, helping out with the daily chores. When you come home from work, we still gotta live a life at home with kids.
Yeah.
You still gotta step in, help out. Go ahead.
In no shade, my dad, he was a great phone dad. He called me all the time. And so we were close. He was actively involved in my life in that sense, but he was never in my home or a man. So I had no idea really what a husband was supposed to look like. There was no role model set for me to understand that. So with advice that I would give newly couple, what worked for us is we seek counsel. We went to church, we found Christ, we fell in love with God, and we really had some wonderful pastors that refused to let go no matter how hard we didn't want the help, because they understood our potential and they loved us, and they taught, to this day, without spiritual guidance and counsel from our pastors, I don't believe we would have ever made it. I fall short. I close the door sometimes out of frustration and being selfish, and my wife can be very difficult, and she's beautiful, providing she didn't have God in her life, she could have left me and been fine. She's very independent. So I don't think without that commitment to our vows and our obedience and discipline to continue to seek counsel, because if I'm being honest, I just don't have the answers for everything. I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't know how to be productive in a marriage. Now, if you left it up to my own thinking, I thought I did. My ego told me I was the man, but in reality, I really needed a lot of work.
And we're still learning. We don't know everything about marriage. We don't even know half of it. We're still both learning. You know, I'm still learning how to be a wife. I'm loyal. I'm honest.
Yeah, we're both faithful.
You know, I've never stepped out on my vows, but we're still learning. We're learning. You know, we've been together for 10 years and married for 5. And it's been, I'm going to be honest, it's been the last couple of years real difficult, real brutal. You know, we've been in separations. And it's been tough. It's been tough, you know, and especially when you bring kids into the mix, it makes it even more difficult. And then when you bring marriage into it, it's a whole different level. You don't lose yourself as a person. When people think they get married, they have to lose themselves. You come into one person.
Yeah. And not just to jump in real quick, I had to learn that my wife still wanted her own identity. She didn't want to be just Miss Elliott. She wanted to be Anna. And I took offense to that because I want to put you under my arm. You know, I want you to be my girl. And I had to realize I was still kind of being selfish with my ego and, you know, and controlling in a way. And I really had no intention to be. Like, I had to be taught that, you know, you have to give her own space and let her be who she wants to be and desires to be, or you're never going to get anywhere together. But
in marriage, like, before you met me, I was a human being. I was still me. You know, when you get married, like I said, you become one unit, but you're still you and I'm still me. Every day, you know, it's a new day. I still pick to choose and be with you every day, but I still have to be myself. You know, I can still go food shopping by myself, or if I want to go with my best friend to go grab coffee or grab out a bite to eat, I can do things like this, you know.
Which I encourage.
And
now you get to the point where you're like, just go, baby. I understand.
You know,
you need your you time.
With you know, in marriage, you have to have respect and boundaries. You know, and you still have to carry yourself a certain way. You are married. You're not out there young chicken, you know, chick. Or you know, you're like, you know, a hen. You know, you're married. So you have to carry yourself in certain ways, and but still be you. You're not going to be going out to the clubs. You're not going to be doing stuff like that. No, going out to eat with your girlfriend, getting your nails done, going shopping, like going to the zoo, an amusement park, whatever. You're still you.
And, you know, make sure you make time for your marriage. You know, don't just be parents. That was where it was difficult for us. Like, if you can, like, we at the Liberty, right? Like, we got together a little older, and it was really important for both of us to have another child. Like, I recognized my boys were going to leave the house sooner than later, and I was going to be lost without them. I coach athletics. I spend the majority of my time. I'm happy to spend them with all my whole family, but I love my kids. And, like, they were going to start having their lives of their own, and they're going to get through high school, and they were going to be gone. And that was devastating to me. So we both decided we really wanted to have another child. But providing we were younger and a little more responsible, or we found each other earlier, I would definitely recommend to take your time with that and enjoy your marriage. Let your marriage grow first, because, like, our 4-year-old runs our life. And, I mean, it's a blessing. I wouldn't change it for anything. But it definitely creates some challenges and difficulties trying to find time for the marriage. You know what I mean? Because, like, our parents both live out of state. My mother's passed away. My father lives 2 hours away. He's pretty busy. Her mother is, you know, pretty busy in her own life. No one really kind of takes our child for us. So it's like the only time we have to find time for a babysitter and really make time for us. It's been really difficult to find any type of alone time and time for us to be. I think there was like a period where it was almost over 2 years we didn't go on a date. That's really unhealthy.
It's not healthy.
You know, we didn't really care so much because we were so in love with our child. But it definitely caused some issues. It was hard for us to grow within ourselves and to keep that spark, you know. And, like, you know, we're a little older, so coming around 10 years later, raising another baby, it was a lot, you know, and which I wouldn't change, but, you know, I would definitely give yourself time for each other. You know, we never really had that honeymoon glow. We went through that as just dating and being engaged, but when we got married, it was just, like, raising children, working, and you know, and it wasn't, there wasn't much time for both of us, you know, so, I mean, it's worked out well. I wouldn't trade it, but I mean, just an encouragement. You know, if you're younger and you're, you know, you're engaged, you're thinking about getting married, and you're overwhelmed with the idea of children, they're the best. But, like, I would say, give yourself a little time to make sure that you guys work on yourselves, your goals, and do things together and create a life together first.
Yeah, definitely enjoy that engagement time, that time to really, really get to know yourself a little bit more together as an actual, you're living together, you're figuring out what you like, what you don't like. Date each other, go on vacations, do all these things before you actually tie that knot, and don't have that. You still have it, but enjoy it before you have kids. Because once you have kids, and you don't have that family support, it's going to be very difficult to make time for yourselves as a married couple. Because you fell in love with that person for a reason. You love something about them. You enjoyed them.
You gotta keep it.
So you have to work to keep that. And when you have kids, it's work. It's work when you have kids, because you got to still come home. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of the kids. You got to get them ready. You got to cook dinner. And you got to get them ready for the night. And then you go to sleep. You wake up and you do the same thing over and over and over again. And you get into a cycle where you can lose that. And I'll be honest, very honest. We've lost that. At
times,
and to rebuild it, as I said in prior,
my wife's very tricky. Like right when I think it's over and it's done and she has no interest in me, I find out that I was completely wrong and she's still head and over heels.
I love him, but there's days I don't gotta like you.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been days if I left it up to my own mind, I would have thought, yeah, I called it quits, it's over, and then, right when I'm ready to walk away, I can't. I mean, I never willingly will. I love my wife unconditionally, but she'll let me know like right when I think it's done. That I was far. It was far from the truth, and that's what's kind of continuously kept us together, really.
And I've been told never say the D word. We've both thrown that word around. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
You never throw the D word down.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Which is divorce, because that can hinder. You have this. I mean, for you people who are out there who are believers, that little devil out there is waiting for that, and he'll use that to sweep his way in any way that he can. But
it's been a crazy ride. I mean, we've both been through, if I'm being honest, we've been through jails, institutions. We both had brain injuries, been bedridden, like through a brain tumor and a stroke that paralyzed me.
Addiction.
We both had six-figure jobs. We, been on beautiful vacations, raised children, coached athletics. I mean, you name it. We've had a wonderful marriage, but I mean, what a roller coaster ride
it's definitely,
it has been.
It's not peaches and cream. It's
only been 5 years,
Yeah.
We've been together for 10.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's not picture perfect what people may think. There's good, bad, ugly, tears, hatred.
So just to keep some direction, what steps would you be willing to take to continue to help or solve any problems, like as we're discussing, within our marriage?
Communication. You have to have conversations, and they're difficult conversations. Sometimes we both avoid them. We avoid them, and we don't have them. Things will happen, and we'll just kind of sweep things under the rug, which is not good, because then that leads to one thing, to another thing, to another thing.
And I think the mindset has to, it can't be what can you offer me. It's gonna be what can I offer you. You know what I mean? And it's hard to walk in that spirit, especially when you're having problems. Like consistently, like the more selfless you can be in an act of service to one another, the better chance you get to be on equal grounds to kind of figure and address things out. And like boundaries, we have to have boundaries with friends. We had to have boundaries with some family members, and walk in a spirit of forgiveness. We've both been out of line with each other's families, with each other's friends. We've both made mistakes and fell short. And at the end of the day, not everybody's willing to be as forgiving as we are with each other. And we can't take that personal within ourselves in our marriage. And just give space to people and time to grow and time to let things go, and just stay focused and mindful on the fact that the marriage is still present. You know what I mean? And that it's important to not forget to continue to go to, because we don't have all the answers. We're not born with them. To continue to seek guidance, especially when you don't want to, and be open for suggestions, just like in anything else. And to be kind to one another. Don't forget like that's a human being that you love, that you share a child with, that you took an oath and vows in marriage to always be there through good and bad. And sometimes that's much easier said than done. And then be respectful of one another. Like, like boundaries even within each other. Like, if I need to address something that I know that needs to be addressed, but I can clearly see that my wife is not ready to have this conversation, I can't take it personal. If as a husband's job, it's not to be right. It's to deflect and keep things in harmony. And sometimes, being wrong, admitting it, or even when you're right, to like wait till that person can come to the understanding and get clarity is more important than proving a point. Because at that point, then what are you doing? Just trying to be right? Are you trying to fix your marriage and help this person, or are you just trying to be right? And sometimes people get really mixed up, especially because conflict will start to, manipulate your intentions. And it's important that you just never lose sight, and that your marriage comes first and foremost over everything. We're one skin. It's the only person in your life, not your parents, not your children, but your spouse. Ideally, in the eyes of the Lord in Christ, you're supposed to spend, where's one. And that's the only relationship you're going to find in the world. And not everybody's raised like that. And, it's not easy. I fall short with it every day. I can only speak for myself. But I get restored every single day. And my primary goal is just to be happy with my wife. And that's never left me from the day that I met her. So, with that being said, it makes things a little easier sometimes, when you're going through those storms. And we had a beautiful saying when we first got married, where if because we had been through it, if you can't hold on through the storms, and I'm talking about the stage 5 hurricanes that we bring, you ain't never gonna find the sunset. So like, if you're like, oh, I can't believe this, I never knew my life would pan out like this is so bad, like that just comes with it if you want the other side of it. You know what I mean? It's how bad do you want that other side? Are you willing to fight and give everything for that person? And I don't know. God bless you. Good luck.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can gracefully say that I wouldn't pick another partner. I wouldn't change anything, and I'm just grateful.
Just always keep God in the center of your marriage first. We're learning that because again, we weren't taught that. So when we resort to God and reach out to Him first, things will work out. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not peaches and creams. And it has a lot of challenges right now for us. But, we're working through.
Be optimistic.
We're working through
Just kidding.
our own issues.
Gracefully.
Yeah, the best that we can.
What's your favorite thing about your spouse? It's my favorite part. Shower me. No.
My favorite thing is that he's funny. He's funny. Sometimes he can be a little over silly, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you saying? Gets a little carried away, but he's handsome, which,
Thank you, Mom.
He's creative. We were doing this, and he's like, oh, I got everything sent over for you. I look over on my phone. Wait a minute. Wait. Yeah. 1 minute, So when he's task oriented when things are of interest are an interest to him. So he's very on top of those things. I love how he's very involved with Adrian, and that he does a lot with Adrian.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate hearing all that.
Yeah.
That's nice. My wife is super goal orientated. She's really proactive. One of the first things she taught me when I got my CDLA was to keep my resume updated on Indeed, so it's circulated in my industry, and continuously look for the best option for me, and not to just settle with the opportunity I had at hand. And she kind of lives her life like that. Like, Anna will get these really great, super high management jobs, and she just never feels fulfilled, which sometimes I hate to see her struggle with, but I admire her drive to continue to find herself and find something and not just settle. And she does that in all areas of her life. She continuously is, she's wonderful. My mother always kept a very clean, neat house. And I guess I take advantage of my wife a little bit because I never really helped my mom. And I was just accustomed to having a really clean house. So, like, being with my wife, it's very similar. It makes me feel like at home again. And sometimes I take advantage of it. In her passion for cooking, she's an incredible cook. She doesn't just cook to feed us. It's her passion. Like, I do music. It's like when she's down here with these pots and pans and these recipes, and she's going through, all these different foods and different culturally food stuff. Like, that's like me upstairs with my beats. I leave her alone because she'll say you never help out cooking, but cooking to me is getting yelled at and told what I'm doing wrong in the kitchen. I try to help. It's just like I'm not nearly on her level. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just a disservice to her after a while, and she recognizes it. Once I try, she appreciates it. But those are things that I really love, and just her love for life. Like, she's an adventurous. Like, Anna loves to be out. Her independence annoys me sometimes because I need more connection. Like, I'm not used to and accustomed to a woman that's like, just I can do everything on my own and I really don't need you. Sometimes that can be aggravating, but I really appreciate who she is as far as just getting out and getting after it. And she meets my drive halfway, and I never found that before. And sometimes she's even more driven than I am, which is actually, I can show appreciation to it now. It used to be kind of intimidating, but you just learn to rise up and level up. And that was one thing that always held us together. We were both like really productive people at work, and as far as going after it and setting goals. And I think that was something that really lured me to her. I never had a woman that was that, she was like a power. She was like a one-man army, man. She could do it all. She made the same amount of money as me, which I was never accustomed to having. It made life so much easier, just to have somebody that was like could meet you halfway with everything. And granted, it hurt my ego at times when she, but I mean that I'm not to get carried away because I always do. My bad. See, that's why I pretty much wrote these for me, because I'm the one that will go woo. But there's so much in her beauty. I mean. And I used to say it was something else that I love most about her, one of her features. But if I'm being honest, it's really her faith that I admire the most. Because if she didn't love God the same way I did, there's no way I would ever be here in this house, in this marriage today. And God's kept us together through all of it. And that I know I have a wife that turns to the Lord the same way that I do, whether I'm in the room or not. She's gonna run to God, and she's gonna be okay because of that. And that by far is the most attractive trait she has in her life, and what I admire most about her. So,
all right, we good?
Yeah, we good.
All right.
Let's get back to fighting.